Do you like that?
Ah,
Yeah. Did you know about that? Hey guys, this is Brandon Hanley. I am on today with Dave Gieselman. Dave is going to be my very first guest in a podcast that hasn't even been introduced or released anywhere yet. We're calling it Spiritual Dope. I've got a subtext line. Dave, let me know how you get your hit, right? Get your hit. Get your dose or get your hit. I'm still kind of up in the air with
get
that
your
one.
hit. I like it
Get your
because
hit,
if we're calling it dope, then you get your hit. If we're calling it
right?
medicine, you might want a bolus or a dose.
No,
But if
no, no, no. Listen, because like I've got artwork being done. I'm just all about this thing. So, um,
as an ex dope head, if it's dope, I'm gonna get my hit
right. So it's
or
what?
I'm gonna get my fix.
Well, ooh, yeah. Now fix is a little too right past the border. I'm gonna stick with get your hit, right? Like I
Right?
think that's my demographic. Those are my people. That's who I'm talking to. I don't think I can talk to the people that get their fix. Those are beyond my help, right? I mean,
Right?
honestly, right? Like I mean, I'm just gonna call it the way I see it. So yeah, man, and the premise is like people there's gonna be like the spiritual hit conversations, like the my one-on-ones or my one-offs where like I'm just speaking from the dome, sharing my I won't call it wisdom, but I'll say sharing whatever it is that's coming through me to you, right? And then having some conversations with some really awesome entrepreneurs or even like professionals who have you know figured out how to live spiritually in alignment with themselves and be successful in the world. And I think that Dave, you fit that mold, right? And you also fit the this kind of ideal piece where um I don't know, what would you call it when you were well, let's just Dave, tell us what you're about and where you're from, what you're doing.
Let's see, let's start it easy. My name's Dave Gieselman. I am from Los Angeles, California. Still live here. I am a unicorn. I'm actually from LA. And I'm the coach and the founder of Become Limitless. It is my coaching organization, and I work with mostly women, but I work with men and women uh, who uh, who are looking to up level, right? Who want more, and for the most part, I work with leaders, I work with professionals, I work with CEOs, uh, who people who are have achieved a level of success and are ready to go to the next one, and they're running into upper limit problems.
Mm-hmm.
They're running into I I I don't know how to take the next step for myself. I don't know what it looks like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and and I don't know if I have the capacity for it. I know I'm being pulled in that direction, but I got some stuff that I need to get sorted out in order to get there. And so this is where because in our businesses, right, our shit always shows up
Mm-hmm.
in our business.
Yeah, man.
Your business is a very very clear indicator of your life. The problems in your business are a very clear indicator of the problems that are probably in your personal life because it all shows up in the same way.
Well, look, I mean, there's no separation between business and your life, right? I mean, they're both your life. I mean,
Right.
you can't. I mean, you really can't separate it. And as we're today we're gonna be talking like spiritual stuff, or as I like, that's what you call life. I mean, if you took away the life that's within you, you drop to the ground, right? Like, I mean, I got no other name, so whatever, you do good, call it Jimmy, right? Whatever's got your boat humming, but whatever's inside of you, it's going to show up outside of you one way or
Right.
another, right? So if you don't have your shit together, if you're a hot mess at home, you're a hot mess at work, right? You're a hot mess. And even if you don't look like it, you are.
Right. If you lack communication skills in your home, if you lack the ability to empathize, if you lack the ability to connect with your family, with the people around you, that is going to seep into your business, and you will lack the ability to connect with clients, colleagues, employees, your potentially your employer, and yeah, whatever is on the inside is inevitably going to show up on the outside.
Yeah, yeah. So your story, I think, is one that, I can't share enough of, right? Because I just love the journey. I love kind of where you've come from. Where you and I were talking a little bit about this before. We've known each other for about 3 years now. 3 years ago, right? I still remember catching you're driving down the highway, you're giving a motivation talk, and just, it was talking to me like almost directly, right? And then a little bit later, you gave a talk just talking about like the dog whistle, right? Like there's certain people that are going to hear your message because they're at that point, right?
Right.
And then, you also talk quite a bit about like, the universe unfolding, just kind of like the next step that you're asking for, like whatever it is that you're asking for. Yeah, that's right. Universe is going to stamp approved, right?
Right.
And it's true if that's how you decide to live, right? And I think that that's, when people talk about the power of choice, that's where it gets to, right? It's a choice.
Absolutely.
It's a life choice to live that way, right? So let's talk. I mean, I don't know the pre-Dave story so well. So what led you to start believing in that, right? What led you into that?
The just to because I want to talk about what's current and relevant, but just to give you guys the cliff notes on it. Like I said, I grew up here in Los Angeles, um, and while all the other little boys and girls on the playground were developing healthy coping mechanisms, I was developing numbing mechanisms, and it went from food to caffeine to cigarettes to masturbation to sex uh, to 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 alcohol to drugs. Uh, by by 22 years old, I was completely homeless, a drug addict and alcoholic on the streets of LA. I was in Pasadena, and and at 24, I got sober. At 24 years old, I got sober, and my journey kind of began there. I was homeless. I was a mess. I was completely feral, uh, and kind of had this starting from scratch place where like I had no clue who I was. I had no clue about anything, and what I basically had was the opportunity. If I could build it any way I wanted to build it, how did I want to build it? How did I want to build this man? How did I want to build who I was? How did I want to build a life? Um, and so I began making very conscious decisions about how I wanted to treat myself, how I wanted to treat others, how I wanted to uh, engage with the world around me, and I made some in those first few years. I made some very very strong decisions. I made some decisions about the way that I would interact with my fellow men. Like never again would I engage in that sort of bullshit like chop fight or they call it cutting in some areas, that running verbal battle between men where we sit there and tear each other down for fun and for sport. uh and I decided that I was never going to participate in that again. Like my brothers have enough. We have enough coming at us just in this world. Like I don't need to tear my brothers down. I will build my brother every single time, guaranteed. I don't care what the world thinks of me. I'm the very first person that I'm gonna tell one of my brothers that he's handsome, he's good looking, he's smart, he's articulate, and has something to offer the world. I'm going to be the first person to tell one of my brothers that that he has absolutely everything he needs inside of him to be an amazing husband, an amazing father, an amazing employer, a good money maker. If those are the things that he decides to incorporate uh, in his day to day behaviors, rather than the fearful, selfish, self centered son of a bitch that we all kind of are on the inside. You know.
Yeah, look, man, I think we all had the propensity for that.
Mm,
And I think that that's really I think that's the environment that most of us end up growing up in, right? Like we've got to get what's ours. We've got to make sure that if somebody's better than us, we need to make sure, or if somebody is showing talent or skill or in some way superior to you, you've got to cut them down, bring them down to size. You're not
Right.
being humble. Where's your pride? You're way too prideful, right? And that type of thing. So was it right after you kind of you sober up that's when you make that decision that you decided that was the way you're going to be, or did you kind of was it a path into that?
The path into that was, first off, I, like I said, I was homeless when I first started, and about a year and some change into my, into sobriety, I met a girl, and she thought I was cute, and I was not in a position to argue with her, uh, and 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 so my first experience there was, this person really liked me, and I what I wanted was, I didn't want her to find out that I was as feral as I was,
Right.
and so I began making decisions like what does the guy that she deserves act like?
Mm,
Right? What is the guy that she deserves? What does that guy behave like? How does he show up in the world? How does he act? What does he do? How does he act around the house? And and she bought it, and I did the act. I behaved right in a way that I wanted to be.
sure.
And like I coach now. If you want to be something else, you got to behave in a different way.
Right.
And it's just like making your bed in the morning, right? Uh, Somebody told me, early on, make your bed every day, and I'm like, well, what does that have to do with sobriety? And he goes, nothing. Just do what I told you to do. And so I consciously made my bed every day, and at some point, I stopped consciously making my bed every day, and I shifted. I transformed into a guy who just made his bed every day
For
without
sure.
thinking about it. And I would no more, leave the house without making my bed than I'd leave the house without brushing my teeth or anything else,
For sure.
right?
Right.
And so I began behaving in the way we behave and the way we speak will alter our brains, right? And so I began thinking like a guy who acted the way I was acting, and I began using language in the manner of the guy that I wanted to be, and so I literally started acting like the man I wanted to become, and I don't know when it happened, but at some point I transformed into the man that I wanted to be, rather than acting like the man I wanted to be.
No, I love that 100%. Because your audio's got to match the video, right?
Right,
And it doesn't even happen on purpose. It doesn't happen on purpose because you're acting in such a manner for so long, right? That that's who you become, right?
right,
You spoke it into existence, as they say, right?
right, right. You act it into existence. You speak it into existence. Look, whether you're doing it consciously, but if you are acting, if you are in all of the behaviors of a guy who takes care of his body, who goes to work every day, who shows up on time, who pays his bills, if you are in all of those behaviors,
Hmm.
uh, are you not that person?
Right.
Right? And whether you need to remind yourself to be in those behaviors or not, at some point it becomes your habit, your routine, your subconscious that's running that program. But regardless of whether you're deep down you're this just frightened, selfish, self-centered piece of work. But what I want to do is I want to be something greater than that, right? Your behaviors will always dictate who you are. And so when you become this thing, when you begin acting this way, it's it becomes who you are. And so you can literally act your way into a better life, uh a better life, better health, better whatever, like because you're actually taking the actions of the person who does those things.
No, I totally agree, man. And the funny thing is I think that a lot of us we've been told that before, right? That's not new. You've gotta be before you can do, before you can have, or something like that, right? Um,
Hmm.
I forget the line 100%. Okay, so you're going through that journey. You get married. You're a chef.
Get
You're
married, had a kid.
right.
Yeah, I got married, had a kid, and it was the same way, right? Like, what is the best father that I can be? What does that guy behave like?
Mhm.
Right? What are the actions of that man?
Right.
Right? And I'm just gonna be in those actions. Yeah. At the time, I'm a chef. I'm working in high end hotels and restaurants in Los Angeles, um, and and I'm working with a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics because of I was giving back what was so freely given to me.
Were you
When I
sponsoring? Is that what you were you
Yeah, I was
sponsoring?
sponsoring. I was in 12 step,
Okay.
12 step recovery, and that's kind of the deal with 12 step recovery is like the minute you get back on your feet, you get your feet back underneath you. Not when you get your shit back and your life back, you start making money again, and you're kind of established and have some free time. No, the second you have your feet back under you, you turn around and you reach back into the hole and you start pulling other people out. Like that is the deal, and that is what was impressed upon me is that the only way that I'm ever going to get better is to help other people get better. and that was a such a fundamental piece, and continues to be such a fundamental piece of who I am. And working as a chef, look, I always wanted the people around me to get better. I always wanted to them, and so I got into a lot of personal development. I got into a lot of mentoring. I got into a lot of stuff, and what I found was that I actually enjoyed helping people develop into better versions of themselves. I actually enjoyed that more than I enjoyed, the kitchen life.
For sure.
And in and so I've been coaching now for about 17 years in one capacity or another. And in 2017, I retired from professional kitchens. I had opened my coaching business as a business about a year before, and in 2017, I retired from professional kitchens to coach, speak, and write full time.
I love that. One of the things you said in there is like, we want people to, be better versions of themselves. And I don't wonder if, it's the same. I think it's the same thing, just said differently. It's like, help them uncover who they truly are, right? Like, your best version of you has been, um, you know, put in jail, right?
Right.
Your best version of you has been locked up, right? Your best version of you has been, miss fucking led.
Right. Yeah. And the best version of me is informed by all of these things, is
Right.
informed by a violent past, is informed by finding yourself on the wrong end of a firearm or cops billy club, or like any number of things. The best version of me but the best version of me is also informed uh by teaching my son how to ride a bike,
Mm,
and learning what true like patience and persistence, like firm persistence, consistency, and patience looked like,
right.
right? And which I didn't know until until my son was sick, and you can't shake a toddler for not feeling well
Mm,
to nurture him. You and just the same way, you cannot berate another man into being a better version of himself. You nurture them, you
yeah.
know
Yeah.
and the best version of you is always inside you. And that's why I say the best version of you, because who you are, the very, very best version of you, the very, very best, if you want to get spiritual with it, the 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 everything that God ever wanted you to be, without all the dumb, cheap, lame bullshit, aftermarket shit that you stuck on with like duct tape and staples, right?
Bondo. You bonded that
Right?
bitch
We're
up.
talking about the big dumb spoiler on the back of the Corolla,
You've
right?
got three badass rims.
Yeah, and like it's all a bunch of cheap, dumb bullshit aftermarket stuff.
Mhm.
And the best version of you doesn't need any of that,
Mm-mm.
like, and so we ask the question, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you woke up tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
as at 100% of God's potential for you,
Mm-hmm.
what would that guy be
It's
like?
fucking unreal, right? It's unreal because I'll tell you, I'm reading way too much. I'm filling my head up way too much stuff. And I love it all though. Like I am. There's actually a person called Spiritual Junkie. I'll have to talk to her. Um, but it's unfathomable, right? Your potential.
Right.
It's unfathomable. Limitless is indeed it. So I want to go to that place where you found that for yourself and talk about that for me.
It a lot of it came from it came from my journey with my own body, right? So in sobriety, I first of all I got sober. I got off the streets. I never thought I could do that. You know. Then I found love, and I never thought I could do that. Right. Then along comes my son, and I never thought I could do that.
Yeah,
You
man,
know.
amen.
And I never thought that I could like show up and be a responsible, a responsible enough human being for someone to want to be with me, someone to want to make a baby with me. You know.
Well,
And
the B made like maybe nobody wanted to, but then they did, and then they decided you could stick around and still be the dad.
right, like yeah, that was like best case scenario, right? And and so all of these things, I kind of came to this place where I begin to question every single limitation I believe I had.
Mm,
And my son was about 4, and he and I got into Brazilian jiu-jitsu together. Um, and and through this process, through this art, I've been involved in for 12 years. I I start training. I watch my body change. I watch my belief in myself change. I watch my son grow up without a fear of other human beings.
mm,
I watch it transform him into the young man that I know him to be today. I started competing and finding out that I had strength and capability beyond whatever I thought, what else I thought was possible. I got into Spartan races and Tough Mudders and began going, okay, so if I can do this, what else can I do?
mm-hmm.
All right, and I'm gonna start beating up the body as hard as I can, and just finding the limits, and I didn't find any.
Mm,
All right, and so then I start opening up to the, is there something more for me? Is
mm,
there something greater for me? And that's where Become Limitless came from. Is I at one point I ceased to believe not only in my limitations but in the limitations of others. Like
mm,
I simply stopped believing in them.
right.
And I was leading a group of women last night, and I told them the exact same thing. I go, I don't believe in your limitations. I don't
Right.
believe in them, and I am going to stretch you beyond everything that you believe you're capable of, because if there is one thing that human beings have shown, is that they are piss poor at understanding their own limitations. Right? Every time we think we understand the limits of human potential, somebody else throws a rocket, into outside the solar system.
Right.
We thought we could never fly until we flew. We thought we could never uh, we thought we could never, go into space until we went into space. We thought we could never explore other planets until we explored other planets.
Right.
We thought we could never live underwater until we lived underwater. And every single time we think we have a limitation, there's always some dude just like me or just like you sitting in the back going, you want to bet?
For sure. For sure. I mean, I'll throw this out at you. I mean, they say that like 85% of our DNA is junk DNA. And I got to ask myself the question, did, the God, universe, or anybody give me something that I can't use?
Right,
Right. I ain't got no junk DNA. I just don't know how to use that other 85%
right,
yet.
right. And
Right.
that's
Like I haven't tapped that yet. And it's like, what's it going to take for me to figure out how to turn that on? What's it going to take for me, to make the decision of, yeah, I can do that. I just got to go try it. Right.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so when I decided to do this, I leaped into a brand new career. I'd spent 30 years in professional kitchens. I leaped into a brand new career. Uh, and I made the leap, and just like the Matrix, nobody
I
makes
mean,
the
makes the
first
first.
jump.
Well, listen. I mean, here's the other part, right? Like I'm reading. I just finished this book called the Path of the Initiate or Initiate's Path, one of the two, right? And one of the things in that, and you read it in like almost all the other religions or like all the other like coming of age enlightenment things, is like you have to get rid of everything that you had in order to become who you are, right? In order
Right,
to accept this new path for yourself, in order to you went all the way in for it, and the price that you paid was giving up everything to become who you are today. I
right.
mean,
Well,
I think the semi fair. Like, I mean, look, nearly every you've your whole life since you and I have met, radically different,
oh yeah, no. So
and that's just in 3 years.
right when I leaped into that new career, like
Mm-hmm.
it cost my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It cost me every dime I had. It cost my retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It literally cost everything, and I ended up getting divorced, liquidating my retirement. Uh, you know, you know, doing a thousand other things, and they say that your new life is waiting for you. It is going to cost your old life though.
Mm.
you know
Mm.
and that is true. And but for everybody who's like right now just kind of sweating bullets, right?
Right.
Let me say that there is absolutely nothing I have had to let go of that I lament losing. There is absolutely nothing that my life right now cost me that I regret letting go of.
I mean, that was all. I mean, look. I mean, I always think about it like if you're kind of running, like I think of anime for some reason. I think of like somebody's always running. There's like 100 hooks coming at you, right? Those hooks that are hooking onto you. That's all the shit that you just can't let go of, right? That's all the shit that's keeping you from moving forward. Maybe not, maybe not 100% keep me from moving forward, but each one of those hooks that gets released from you allows you to move that much freer.
Hmm. Right. And I'd like to give everybody who's listening to this permission right now that your life, your life today does not need to look anything like your life 3 years from now, or that your life today doesn't need to look anything like your life a year from now. Look, you are welcome to change anything at any moment, and completely reinvent yourself,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so the what happens is a lot of people, and here's the limitation, right? Well, what if I do this and it's the wrong decision? What if I do this and it's the wrong move? And the question I ask every single person is, how will you know?
Mm.
How will you know if it's the wrong decision? I made the decision. It literally cost my marriage and every cent to my name.
Hmm.
And now less than 3 years later, right?
Right.
Less than 3 years later, I'm living in a beautiful house with an amazing woman who is absolutely the love of my life. Who had I got my my little blue house with a white picket fence, in here in Northeast Los Angeles, with a woman who I love more and more every single day. My life is extraordinary, and I will tell you that it cost every single bit of my old life. The,
Sure.
the, the one thing it did not cost me was my relationship with my son.
Right.
Right? And it's the one thing that it did not cost me. And as a matter of fact, my son respects me now more than he did then, because he saw that it was time for that situation to end. He understood it, and what he saw was his father make a conscious decision to do something he wanted to do. He saw what it cost. He saw the way I suffered for what I believed, and now he has seen me build a life that is incredible.
Yeah, no, it's super powerful. That's why I love the story, man. That's why I super love the story. And And let's keep talking about the types of things that that the universe provides, right? Because here's one of the things that happened to me recently was you know I was always kind of worried about the job that I had, right? One of the jobs I have, because I got paid really well and I was spending all my money because that's what I do as an American. I just spend all my
right?
fucking money and then some. It got to the point, and then I was down in Louisiana, and this I think Puerto Rican guy picked me up from an Uber ride, and we got to chatting, and he's like, "Yeah, I make like $2,000 a week driving Uber." I was like, "So my worst case scenario is I drive Uber." Okay, I'm
Right.
good. So whatever happens, happens. Like I think, Tim Ferriss calls it fear setting. Now I'm not going to sit there and focus on the biggest, worst possible thing that could ever happen in my life, because who needs to spend their time thinking about that? But I mean, you did, you ended up, living at home, driving for
Mhm.
Lyft. And I'm sure there were some people that were like, what the fuck do you think you're doing, Dave?
Oh, I'll tell you right now, there are still people who've known me for years and years and years who believe that I'm experiencing a midlife crisis. There are still people, like members of my own family, are
Mm,
still a little bit curious about when I'm going to go back to my job and my wife.
mm,
They are still curious, and I'm like, um, I I made I made more in the first quarter of this year than in my best year of any kitchen ever.
mm,
I made more in the first quarter of this year than I made in a year in any kitchen I've ever been in. My life is richer and fuller than it has ever been in my life ever. My life is better, and um, you know, there will always be the people. See, when we worry, right? What we're doing is we are literally putting energy into, we are imagining scenarios that we don't want,
mm-hmm.
right? That's what we
Yeah.
do when we worry. And one of the things that I had to do, and I would encourage anybody who's listening to do this, who's looking at taking a leap, or making a shift, like I had to change my relationship with failure. Like, what would failure look like for me? And for me, right? For me, uh, failure looked like going back to kitchens. Literally, you talk about, if it all goes bad, I start driving Uber, and yeah,
Right.
and I drove Lyft for a minute.
Right.
What failure was for me was going back to kitchens. So true abject catastrophic failure for me looked like a six-figure job, right?
Mm.
It looked like
For sure.
going, you know,
Right.
going back to hotels and high end restaurants. That's
But but
what
but
that's
so that's a scenario though, right, where you're working for money versus working for something that you believe in.
right,
Am I right or
right,
wrong in that?
absolutely. Yeah, I was working for money, and I was making decent money, and I hated it. I was hiding behind, what will I do? What will my family do without the money? Right? And the
Right.
truth is that the money the money went anyway, and it didn't matter because I made it work.
Sure. Well, I think that there's so I mean, I don't know. You listen, I'm not trying to get too far out there, but the same source that's taking care of me is taking care of everybody else.
Absolutely. And when we connect with that, and whether you call that God, Allah, Buddha, Yoda, the universe, spirit, source, Mitch, whatever it is you call that is irrelevant,
Mm-hmm.
right? The fact of the matter is that there is a universal intelligence to energy, right?
100%. Yeah.
And energy has an intelligence of its own,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an intelligence, and energy has an intelligence that can be harnessed, it can be directed, and and it's funny because people struggle with believing it until they have to, and once they're in a position where they have to use them, they're like, Oh, that's how it works.
Well, we were talking a little bit about this in the beginning here, right? It's the choice to believe in it, right?
Hmm.
Once first of all, once you have that conversation with somebody, um, it rattles around in your brain for a long time. Like, can you believe this motherfucker said? He said, universe, Mitch. He said Mitch had my back, and what I encourage people to do is look for evidence of it, right? You don't need, hey, don't start big. You don't have to make that leap. You don't have to make that leap so much that you're gonna fall and hit your face and potentially die. Take a couple, it was crawl, walk, run, man. Crawl, walk, run.
Right. Well, the first step to achieving an impossible goal is to set one.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Set an impossible goal, and stretch or stretch yourself this much. My introduction to Brazilian jiu-jitsu was this. Look, I took my son to this little community jiu-jitsu program because he
Mhm.
was 4 and it was time to like get him doing something on a Saturday morning, and whether it was you know chasing a soccer ball with a bunch of other 4-year-olds, or throwing a baseball, or figuring out how to catch or whatever, or run. We checked out uh, this jujitsu program, and because a buddy of mine was in it, and he recommended it, and so I'm like watching the kids out on the mat do their thing, and and one of the parents came up to me and said, "So you're gonna the adult class is right after this? Are you gonna do the adult class?" And I looked at this. Well, I'm like I'm a 265-pound chain smoking chef. No, no,
Right.
I'm not taking the adult class.
Right.
Okay? I'm not doing that. And she's like, "That's cool. So when your son, is a 15-year-old black belt, and you think he should clean his room, and he thinks you should go piss up a rope, like what exactly do you intend to do about that?" And I'm like, "Well, okay, well maybe one class,
For sure.
you know, and maybe I'll just take one, and I took this class, and I did the thing, and I got on the mat, and these guys tied me into 100 million knots.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a completely hopeless situation. I couldn't win. I had a little 150-pound girl uh, who could throw me off of her and choke me unconscious at will.
Right.
And there was nothing I could do to stop that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And and at the end of the class, I was breathing heavy. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to die. I'd been humiliated about 150 times, in the last 30 minutes, and and 3 or 4 of the guys in the class came up to me and like, "By the way, that's what everybody's first day looks like.
Right.
Come back."
Right.
Like, did you enjoy it? And I did. I
Yeah.
like being physical. I like that thing. I enjoy that. And they're like, "That's what everybody's first day in jiu-jitsu looks like. It's what your first day in jiu-jitsu
Yeah,
looked
man.
like."
Thank you for that. Yeah, Dave, you're the one who got me into that, and man, it's not happening right now. And we talk about like that is part of my spiritual practice, right? That's like those are like kind of my moments of flow when I go in. I'm participating in jiu-jitsu. But you're dead right, man. I think I broke my rib on my very first day. Couldn't sleep for a month, and my girl was 115 pounds. She's purple belt, and just like what made it even worse was she was the girlfriend of the badass jujitsu instructor, and she's like, he's like, all right, go wrestle with my girlfriend. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I don't want
It's
to hurt your
weird.
girl, brother.
Right. It was just weird. That made it weird. But like, she kicked my ass for like the next 6 months, and it wasn't until like she didn't put me into, she didn't choke me like in one round that I felt like I'd accomplished something.
Right.
But to your point, like, I mean, we go in there and we start at the bottom and we stretch ourselves just a little bit more every day, right? And I think that, kind of that's the takeaway for anybody who maybe they don't believe that they can accomplish this big dream. You as a coach, what do you help them do with these big dreams, Dave?
You know what? Look, I start saying yes to shit.
Mm.
It doesn't matter what it is. Start saying yes to shit. you're
I
super
don't even know.
athletic,
I don't even know what. I don't even know how to say no. I'm terrible.
right? But just start saying yes. You're super athletic, homeboy. He goes, hey, do you want to go, run a thing with me? And instead of going like, no, that sounds, you know, horrible. Like
Right.
just say sure. Your girlfriend who wants to introduce you to some, to a type of music. Like say yes. Just start saying yes. Like
Hmm.
say yes to stuff. And I understand that there are people who say yes to too much,
Hmm.
right? And so they get overwhelmed because they're people pleasers or whatever. I'm
Right.
not
Right.
talking
Right.
about people pleasing.
Right.
I mean
Say
stretch
say yes
beyond
to
your walls.
new. Say yes to new
Say
experiences.
yes to new experiences, and and say yes to new experiences, like the same new experience, like 3 times before you make a decision on it.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Like yeah.
just start saying yes to stuff,
Right.
and this is going to bring up a whole conversation about boundaries and whatever, and that's not what I'm talking about.
Sure.
You know, that's not
Listen,
that's
listen. Say yes to stretching yourself in a meaningful, kind of intentional. What else is out there for me in my life kind of way. That's
right.
what you're saying.
What would happen if yeah, what's the worst that could happen if I said yes to this thing that sounds like inconvenient and I don't want to,
Well, Dave, I
and
mean, you said just to getting up on a stage with Kyle Cease, right? Like, I mean, that was a big thing for you, wasn't it? Like being up there on stage with him.
yeah, I see that wasn't the plan. He asked for like input on something, and I didn't know he was going to put me on stage. But what I did was like not go running from him. Like, okay,
Right.
so so we're going to do this, and so that's kind of the big thing is go like move in the direction that the energy in your life is moving,
Sure.
right? Like I'm gonna
Right.
do this. Okay, so here we go. He asked who who we did an exercise. He goes, all right, who just had a profound experience? I'm like, I did. He goes, well, why don't you come tell me about it? And so
Right.
I started shouting, and he's like, no, come up on stage. So now I'm on stage with Kyle Cease in front of 1,500 people, 1,600 people, and I get to have, I get to get introduced to the world as a coach on Kyle Cease's stage,
Nice.
and have a profound experience about myself where I realized that I could literally write my own write my own story.
Right.
And it was funny because if we go back to that thing, and it's been all over the internet and whatever, but we go back to that moment, like at literally everything that I was afraid of happening when I made my leap happened.
Sure.
Like literally everything that I described as the thing that I was afraid of, like actually happened.
Hmm.
And when all those things happened, and I actually called Kyle. I had his cell phone number at some point, and I literally called him, and I'm like, okay, so I need to tell you this. So literally everything that I told you I was afraid of actually happened.
Hmm.
Right? Everything I was afraid of happened. I did what I said I was going to do. Everything said I was afraid of happened.
Right.
And so I am now literally standing at the bottom of the pit of my own worst nightmares having
Ooh.
come true. The
Right.
things that I was absolutely afraid of most, they are all alive and well in my life in this moment.
Right.
And I have never felt so purposeful, so alive, so energized, and so absolutely certain that I was doing the right thing.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the all of the metrics that I had given myself for what catastrophic fail would look like I mean, I literally ticked every single box
Right.
of what catastrophic failure would look like.
Hmm.
I gathered all of those things into my life at the exact same moment and went, this is the best I've ever felt. I have
Right.
never felt more useful, more energized, and or more connected with the why, with the reason I've been placed on this planet than I do right now.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
once again, my idea of my own limitations,
Mm.
my concept of what failure would look like, what my own limitations were. Once again, just like the rest of humans, like complete like garbage, like complete nonsense. My idea of what my limitations were was absolutely laughable.
We look. I mean that's the very thing, right? We put ourselves in the tiniest box, right? We
Right?
put ourselves into the tiniest. Like we think that like our boundaries are so far out there, and when we hit them, we're like, that was exhausting. But it's like really this tiny little box,
Uh
right? And
huh.
we haven't even begun to explore the entire fucking universe, right? Like, I mean, it is limitless. There are no limits. Let's talk. Just talk to me a little bit about though. Again, I want to just you're serving, right? You're doing this in service of others, and to me, I think that is kind of the ultimate driver of like spiritual. You're driven spiritually so that you serve others, like that which is inside of you keeps coming through more and more powerfully because you are giving it to others. You have to be that fully charged.
Absolutely. And and I am what I describe as I am a prime nurturer, right? And I did it with food for a long time. Like I fed people. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what fed me. It was feeding people, making food. So like at the bottom, like the base level, food is nurture,
Mm-hmm.
right? The first thing your mother does is feed you. Like
Sure.
that's like it's the first thing that the way that you identify the people in your family is because they feed you,
Mm-hmm.
when so and so and I am a prime nurturer. My first instinct is to nurture,
Right.
uh and it is absolutely the reason that I am here. It is absolutely and what I discovered was I found a way that felt even more authentic and was actually more efficient than food. And it's literally by like crawling into somebody's psyche with them,
Right.
and and like so they're showing me around. They go, yeah, this is what I built and this is what I believe, and here are my limitations. And I'm like, wait, and I tear it down like a backdrop. I'm like, yeah, it's bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's that's bullshit.
That's the
That
story. That's the
that's the
story.
story. That's the narrative, right?
Right.
That's the thing that you have told yourself so that you can give yourself permission to stay small, right?
Well, and that's the whole point of getting a coach. This is a coach. You as a coach, you don't give a shit about their backstory.
Okay. Not only do I not give a shit about your backstory,
Right.
like,
Wait, you're not gonna
but
give them permission. Like, I love the other line though too. Like, you're not there to give somebody. You're not there to argue for their limitations.
no, no, no. Like, not only do I not care about your backstory, I don't care about your fears. Like, I don't care about your. I don't care about the narrative that you've told. I don't care about the meaning that you have placed on this that or the other. I am here uh, expressly to. I'm going to find out what it is that you want,
Right.
right? You tell me what you want, which by the way is going to come from the deepest place in you. What I want is this, right? What I want is to serve the world at a very high level. What I want is to create a company that enables people to teach children everywhere. What I want is to is to like whatever it is your thing is. And by the way, I don't work with low level people. I don't work with people whose like deep and personal dream it is to own a Wendy's. Like that's not you know
What's wrong with that? I get what you're saying.
it's just not who I work with.
Well, it's not. It's okay, we'll talk about. It's not who you. It's not who you are. So that's not who you attract to you, right? Like,
That's exactly it.
look, you can law of attraction. You can call it whatever you want. That's just how the shit works,
Right.
right? Like, I mean, you have knobs and whatever, and you twist and turn, and you tune into like who you are. People are attracted to who you are. Today,
Right.
and most of the times the people that you're helping is people that who've been where you were at one point.
Well, they're people who literally have all of my shit, and you know this. You've spent some time in personal development, and you work with people, and the truth is that absolutely every single one of my clients like has a deficiency of mine, and me working with them is really me healing myself, and that's the bottom
I
line.
love that too. Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not I'm not a some guru. I don't have any sort of special wisdom. What I have is the absolute willingness uh to be like vulnerable and in breakdown at the public level. Like I am absolutely willing to learn with you as we grow.
Right. Okay.
And Lisa Sasevich calls it lift as you climb, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
as I'm climbing, I'm lifting,
Sure.
and so I am absolutely willing to learn as I grow, and continue to believe that people are placed in my life to teach me something.
For sure. Every
And
every
so,
every man is a lesson. Every person is a lesson. I got to ask this. This comes kind of from the Joseph Campbell, hero's journey,
mm,
right? Um, there was that point where you made that decision to become a coach, like full time, right?
mm,
That was a call, right? That was
right.
that was a call, and there was a little bit of hesitancy, I'm guessing, to heed that call, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, if you didn't heed that call, like if you don't, and I would call that the hero's call,
Mhm.
right? And if you don't accept that, what happens if you disregard that hero's call?
uh, what happens is you get called again,
Mm,
and you get called again, and here's the problem: uh, as you get called again and again, the universe will use more and more persuasive language
mm,
every single time, which means saying no, disregarding it, pushing it aside will get more painful every time you do it.
amen. So, and I liken it to, you know, you're gonna grow whether or not you want to, right? And it's
100%.
I think about it like as a seed shell, right? Like I mean, you're the seed inside this shell, and like you're gonna pierce through. Like you've got that little sprout that like I could go bite. Has enough energy and life force within it to crack a hard shell. I mean, that's what's happening to. I think humans are. You're a seed, right? And
Right.
you're unfurling, and there's no you resist as much as you want.
Right. Well, here's the fact is that absolutely every single organism on Earth understands its purpose, and knows that it is supposed to uh, fully grow and fully express and before passing on. And to use your example, like all the information for the 100-foot oak tree is in that acorn. And that acorn hits the ground, and the moment that acorn hits the ground, it knows what it's supposed to do. Okay, it knows the roots go down, trunk goes up, branches go out, leaves are green. It knows this, and it has all the energy, all the information, all the will it needs to do the tree, and it knows it is supposed to fully tree, right? And everything fully expresses. Flowers fully open, you know, uh, you know, plants, they fully express, you know, dogs fully. Never in the history of dogs has a dog ever half-assed being a dog. Dogs fully dog, right? Like humans are the only organisms on Earth that doubt or debate whether they are supposed to fully express what is inside them before they pass on, right? Some go, yeah, but no, why am I that special? Why is the oak that special that it gets to take up that much space?
Right.
Why you are take up your take your space.
Hmm.
Take your space in the universe. Take your space,
There's plenty of room.
plenty
Plenty
of
of room.
room.
And
And
you got to think about it like this too. Like there's never any more or less mass in the universe. So there's also that. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there, right? Like what you decide to do, yes, it's going to have an impact, but it's not going to have don't limit yourself. You're not gonna damage, I think, the world because you decide to believe in yourself.
right, right, and that's the whole thing is that thing that's inside you, that thing that won't shut up, that thing that won't let you sleep, that
Yeah.
thing like that is your purpose. Like
Yeah.
make no mistake, that thing was put there by something because you are supposed to follow it. Once
So,
again, just
but
like a
again, right? Or like, I mean, like, all right. So somebody's like, well, that's fucking great, Dave, but what's my purpose, right? Well, go start to explore it, right? What's your answer? What's your answer? Like, I mean,
what are your passions? Okay, your interests are a breadcrumb trail to your passions. Your passions are a breadcrumb trail to your purpose, right? What do you fucking love? Like what do you love? And I'll tell you right now, I love serving humans. You've known me long enough that you know this to be true. The thing that will get me out of bed every single day is, hey, you want to go be of service to somebody? You want to go shift somebody's life? You want to shift somebody's perspective? You want to go stand next to somebody while they watch their while they watch a parent die. Do you want to go like be somewhere? You want to stand up? Do you want to go show up for another human? Yes. Yes, I absolutely do. Every day of my life, in my dreams, in every way I can. Yes, what I want to do is to show up for other human beings.
I mean,
That
look,
is what I want.
that's your spiritual dope.
Right.
That's your spiritual life high. Like I know that like a couple years ago, somebody had been like, dude, I'll just get high off of life. I'd been like, you can go fuck yourself. But now I'm like, let's talk about that spiritual life high, right? Like living a life that is complete and being excited uh, to keep waking up and I hate going to sleep because I don't want my day to end. Like I love, learning more about what it is that I can give, right? And what else can I, how all the information I'm taking in, I know is going to be in service for others, not just myself, but there's going to be someone that comes along tomorrow that needs the information that I just put in my head yesterday.
Right. Right. And showing up powerfully. So, you know, yeah, I don't know what my purpose is. Bullshit. Just like you talked about the DNA, 80% of it is crap DNA, and there's no reason it wouldn't be there if it didn't serve you. Okay, that thing that you love, that thing that you're obsessed with, that thing that you know everything about, that
Mm,
thing that you can't let go. By the way, that's your thing.
that's the
Like
thing.
that thing that you've been thinking about since you were a child.
Yeah,
That's your
and
thing.
don't try and mask it. Like I'll tell you, man, that's what, I think so for those of you that are joining this first interview on spiritual dope, I got done doing about a year series on prosperity practice where I had this same feeling, but like I was trying to mask it with something else, right? Like I was like, let's see if we can mask it some way again. Like, I was like, hey, you come in and join the prosperity practice. I want you to come check out this thing because what I actually want you to see is over here. Right. Like, come check out this prosperity thing. But what I really want to do is, connect you with all of who you truly are.
Right.
Right. And I think that that's what you do. Right. Like, you help someone to see all of who they truly are because you've been in touch with that for yourself.
Right. And to live at full volume, right?
Mm.
To
Right.
not like stifle like
Yeah.
any piece of me. To
Yeah.
not, to not drown out or mask or anything else. Any single piece of me. To live life exuberantly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
and and to we've talked about this. We've had this conversation. Like I'm not putting anything pretty in a box, man. Like when I at the end of my road, dude, I want to go skidding in sideways, no rubber left on
Oh,
the
put it
tires.
pretty. Yeah, look, man, look, this, I want it all used up. Like I
Yeah,
don't
like
want nothing left.
yeah, I don't want anything. Like I don't want to leave like I don't want to leave a thing on the table. Right? I
Yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to I don't
yeah.
want anything left.
Right,
Like
right.
I don't want another mile left on that machine.
Uh-uh,
Like
uh-uh.
I'm not putting anything and and that's just the way it is.
But
And I
that's
get to
truth, right? Like I mean, and I think that that's truth. And you know, talks about like the dog whistle thing, but like when you hear somebody speaking their truth, you know it. Like it is resonant. I hate resonance, but it is resonant, right? Like there is a true vibration in the room, a true sensation that you receive when you are around someone who's speaking their truth,
right.
right? and
Right?
and 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 that to me, that is life coursing through somebody else, that is allowing that to happen, right? Like it's not forced. You can tell when somebody's trying to force that shit,
Right.
right? But
Right,
when you
because it sounds phony. It sounds like they don't believe it. It
Mhm.
sounds like they're saying it, but once again, the audio has to match the visual,
Audio
the
has to
video.
match it. Listen, and it will. That's the thing. So with that's coaching, I think is awesome for that. Podcasting, I think, is awesome for that. Anything that you do that you begin to express who you believe you are in any way, shape, or form, you don't have a choice but to become who you keep calling.
Right.
I love that line. That
Right.
was great. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Look at the people that you continue to attract into your life.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, that's how you're showing up. Just so you know,
Right.
look at the people you call into your life. That's how
Sometimes I
you're.
better stop. No, it's so true. It's so
Water
true,
seeks
man.
its own level every
Fucking
time.
water. Listen, man, always love you, man. What's like a parting blow, man? Like, what's been your, I don't know. I don't have a segment yet that says like what's been your like most spiritual high. Do you chase the spiritual high? Does it come to you? Like, what is your spiritual high, Dave?
You know what uh, the spiritual part of this deal, right, is like the water part of the ocean, right?
Mm,
It
mm,
like it's the God part of life is like the God part of the is like the water part of the ocean. Like it's all God part. It's all
mm,
spiritual part,
mm, mm.
right? Like all of it. There's no part that isn't.
It's either all or nothing. All or nothing.
There's no part that isn't spiritual part. Even the stuff that you don't think is a lesson, and everything that you're pushing with that's nonsense, it's bullshit, it's not for me, that's lessons.
Right.
That's lessons, and it may be a lesson in setting boundaries. It may be a lesson in tolerance. It may be a lesson in empathy. It may be like I don't know what the lesson is, but I am absolutely certain that everything in my life is here for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
is here. Nothing happens to me. Everything happens for me.
for sure.
My job is to live this life as an expression of the universe, just through me.
Yes. Can I get an amen?
Amen, brother.
Can I get a what? Awesome, brother.
What?
Where should I send everybody to go find Dave Gieselman?
You get. I am easiest to find. Dave Gieselman, my personal profile on Facebook, or become-limitless.com, www.become-limitless.com. But I am most easily found. Dave Gieselman. Go to my personal profile. Uh, Shoot me a private message, Dave Gieselman. Uh, and find me there. Everything I do, eventually, yeah, everything I do, uh, Facebook is kind of the portal for that. So,
Right on. Awesome.